What's going on, folks? This is Solo with the Glass Half Full.
This is Vision.
Miami Culture Maven in the house.
And your natural skeptic, Agent Sully, aka Sully Pedagogue. Learn you something.
Learn you something.
And we are a Glass Half Full, where the conversations are always interactive. It's always fun. It's always insightful. So if you like it, love it, hate it, or if you just felt something, hit that subscribe button. Give us a like. We got more great content coming on the way.
Oh my God, so I know y'all all have seen Black Panther and we are still buzzing from that. Alright, so just to take a check around the room. I've seen it once. How many times have you seen it?
I've seen it 3 times.
He's seen it 3 times. You?
Saw it twice.
Twice and
4
times.
And
between us 10 times we've seen this movie. So we're just getting together, you know, we're friends, we always sit, we talk, and so we really need to review this movie. Everybody's reviewing it and everybody has different insights, so we really appreciate that, and we're here to give our own. You can watch if you like, if you don't, that's fine. Next. Anyways, so overall review of the movie. Alright, so tell me your thoughts.
Overall review of the movie, definitely a good watch in the theater. It's worth every penny.
I agree. 3D all the way. I was jumping up out of my seat, carrying on bad. I was T'Challa's Jamaican cousin. In case y'all didn't see the pictures, I will post it. No, yes, I am T'Challa's Jamaican cousin. Y'all have to just know that. It was amazing for me. Fashion-wise, I was like jumping through my skin at every single scene. It was amazing. I loved it.
I mean, overall, it's the best superhero movie I've ever seen in my life. Just because it had something that was applicable to every culture, everybody that saw, whether they were a Marvel fan, whether they're just a fan of Black history and Black culture, everything was in it.
Definitely. I think it was historical. I think like it definitely set the bar.
Agreed.
In terms of superhero movies, if you're gonna do it, you've seen how it's done. I mean, if you never had an example before, we saw Batman. Batman was okay, it was good, but now there's Black Panther.
So Black Panther set the bar really high, which is amazing because first of all, it was like almost an entirely black cast, like 98% of a black cast. So it was amazing to me to be able to see myself in that light, because when have we seen ourselves in that light before? When have the children seen it? Like, we bought out the whole row of the theater, me and my friends. We had kids with us and everything. When have we seen that before?
Not to mention, there was a lot of hype going into this movie for a long time. I mean, after watching Avengers, the Civil War, was it?
Yep.
And to see him come out and just show out in the short period of time that he demonstrated his skill and so on and so forth, major hype. And not only was there major hype, but they delivered.
Yes.
So I want to give him props for that.
When he came on the scene in Avengers and they were like, "Your Majesty," I was like, yes! Yes, bow down.
I mean, considering it had the biggest budget for every Marvel movie ever made, like 200 million, they had the ammunition to go all out on this. All out.
So why was the budget bigger than any other Marvel film?
I would say, low-key, Black Panther is one of the most beloved Marvel characters that there are. It doesn't matter where you're from or anything like that. And I really appreciate the fact that since they built up Black Panther's storyline in Civil War, they had enough time to really focus on developing the other characters and then the cast. So that's what really set it aside from other movies.
Wakanda forever.
Now, with that being said, I always have an interesting a thought that crosses my mind. Largest budget, okay? For some reason, it seems to me that the higher powers that be really took advantage of both the hype with Black Panther and the belovedness, but also of all the cultural implications and how important it is for our culture as Black people as well. I think they really played on that. I mean, there's a lot of benefit to it as well, because there's a lot of empowerment for us, but I think it benefits them as well in terms of, if you see the box office reviews and the amount of revenue that they've been able to bring in, we've been filling a lot of people's pockets. Are our pockets getting filled too?
To me, I don't expect our pockets to necessarily get filled by that. Unless, like, do any of us own a comic book store? Do any of us own any sort of store where we can sell the franchise material or the goods? Like, how are we to just be like, oh, how come we don't have the money in our pockets when we're not in the position? Those who position themselves are getting the money.
But you know what? I was having this discussion with a friend of mine as well, and I I think the opportunity is to the entrepreneur. Like, there's a lot of trickle down that's coming out of this by way of, let's say, authentic African wear. So you have a lot of designers who are, they're getting income from it because, they're making clothes.
Yes.
You got people that are like making like the T'Challa's Black Panther necklace, right? Yeah. So, it's coming down. Like, but if we gotta be the ones to go out and get it. T-shirts are getting made. Stuff that's not necessarily coming from Disney or Marvel, but from us and our people, we're always going to find an opportunity. We're going to create.
Let me ask y'all something. Y'all want a beer? I feel like this is us, right? Like,
sure.
Y'all want a beer?
Well, right? Thug life.
Many more.
Oh, yes.
So where were we? Okay, so can we just talk about the fashion a little bit, because I don't know how y'all feel, but for me that was like a fashion revelation exploding in my head. Like, I was going crazy. I was literally jumping up and down carrying on in the theater. Seriously, everything just frigging slayed me. Like, oh my God, whoever designed it, I should know who the designer is. As a matter of fact, we're gonna look it up and I'm gonna put the name of the designer under here because they killed it. How, as men, did y'all feel about the fashion?
I want to say that, granted, I expected the kings and all the royalty to have, relatively speaking, fashionable wears. But what I was really paying attention to was the typical everyday other individual. So the portion where they were in the city, I could have swore I saw somebody look just like Wale. You know what I mean?
I thought it was Wale.
Yeah, I thought it was Wale. So I looked at that and I was like, I like the colors. I like the stuff. It wasn't over the top. It just seemed expressive, but like functional for for that area, that time period, and so on and so forth. So I'm not a major. In fact, I'm probably a fashion misfit, if you can tell. But I like what I saw. So
I mean, in terms of the fashion in the movie, to your point, when they were in the city and they were taking around that, you would never know it was a technologically advanced civilization until, when they first flew in, you saw the monorail, you saw the skyscrapers, and even the skyscrapers still had like the huts built into them.
Right.
Yeah, that, little subtle nuances that showed you it's still Africa. There's still that culture that's deeply embedded in them, but then they're like no nation.
I like that.
Yeah.
I paid attention. I was looking at it, right? And it was very smart. It didn't feel forced. It wasn't over the top. It didn't look, danger, Will Robinson, danger. It didn't look cheesy, futuristic. It looked very functional.
Yes.
All the materials and the fabrics looked comfortable.
Right.
And then the colors. I thought the colors were so dope.
Yes.
Like, for the men, the colors that they wore was very masculine. Some of it was bright. Like I think he was the elder of the River Tribe, and they all wore green. Right?
Right, with the clay in his lip?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Solid suit, green shirt, swag for days. You know what I'm saying? But
true. So true.
Very clean.
Every time I just sit down like... He was pimping.
Like dollar bill.
And I love that because it was like throughout the whole movie you saw that.
Right.
Like the men looked very masculine and the women looked very feminine.
Right.
And there was a scene where they were in town, and T'Challa was wearing all black, and Lupita was wearing something green, right? But it looked comfortable. It looked like everyday wear. And then when they were in a market, it just looked like simple, long shirts, very plain, very script, but it looked natural. Like, I would want to wear that. I'd wear that now.
Yes. Right. So this is the point for me, in that it's amazing the fashion sense that is bringing to the black community, because Africans already dress like that.
Right.
People in New York, we already dress like that. Chicago, we already dress like that because we're around Africans all the time. If y'all ever get a tailored dress from a Senegalese tailor, they will make my wedding dress. They will make my wedding dress. This is what I'm telling you as fact. So for me, I'm really proud that everybody now can embrace that, because I feel like it was an anomaly somehow before, depending on what community you come from. I used to do African dance too, so that's just like prevalent, but I'm really happy with the fact that everybody feels normalized by it.
Very.
it should be normalized. We should dress regal and feel no way about it. I used to work in King of Diamonds and paint my face like it's nothing. People would be looking at me. Some of the strippers used to tip me to paint their face. It was a regular thing because I normalized it. So now this movie has normalized it on a grand scale. I'm really happy about that.
And with that being said, the fact that it's so widespread now, I think now we're probably exposing more cultures to African ethnicity. You know, I heard that they were recently debuted, was it by some Asian countries, so on and so forth. I know individuals who've been to China who say they get stopped in the middle of the street and get touched because they've never seen a black person before. So now you get to see them on the big screen, powerful, smart, dedicated, fighting with honor, having a purpose. That's huge. They're going to look at us totally different.
If we carry ourselves properly. Because, again, everybody that we saw like in the movie, there was a level of distinction to everyone. The women, there was an air of respect that they carried for themselves.
Yes. That was the goal, I think, though, of the producers.
Pride, yes.
The pride is there. We have images now that allow us to feel prideful on a regular basis. What images do we have before? I live close to Pompano. I'm looking at freaking Kodak Black all the time. This dude, I want to slap him so hard. I want to slap him so hard. I'm just calling my idiot, but I'm refusing my idiot. You know what I mean? So Chinese people who look at BET and think that that's the image of us, I don't relate to him. I don't relate to him. Why should you think that I'm like him because we have the same complexion? You should not.
So who do you think's more to blame for that? Do you think we're to blame?
No.
Or do you think it's more so like the channels, the networks that push the image?
Of course. Those who control the perception control the reality.
Exactly. It's a little bit of both. Because you would think our BET, black-owned corporation, would want to project us or portray us in a different image. But ultimately, they're there to make money.
Right.
And they know the hip-hop culture and everything else, and I hate to say like just the stigma of the black ignorance, that sells.
Right.
People are into that. So that's what all the Asian people, you know, China and Japan, that's what they see. And that's all they associate us with. And there's never been any incentive for them to portray us anywhere else.
Both sides have to take responsibility for this issue. More so us. Primarily because we're the ones who are allowing it to happen. You know, so if we all band together and we all got together and said, hey, look, these are certain standards we want to set to make sure that our children, the next generation, anybody else who sees or interprets any of our culture or our art, there's a certain kind of standard and quality we want to maintain to make sure everybody follows those particular kind of principles and work along those lines. Then everybody else will accept it the way we have designed it to be accepted.
Right.
So we have to take a lot of responsibility on ourselves as the ethnic group.
So did you guys expect anything that you didn't actually visually see in the movie from the people of Wakanda?
I would say I got more than I expected.
Agreed.
A lot more. Just the subtle symbolism, like when you see the spaceship flying underneath it, it looks like one of the tribal masks.
Yes.
I like that. You point that out. I like that.
Nice.
I like that.
So imagine like the little kids in the movie when they're looking up in the sky and they're seeing the spaceship, how impactful it is to them. Imagine if that was us.
Right.
If we were there, like that would be earth shattering for us.
You know what I like also? The portion with when Killmonger was first introduced into the movie, when he was in the museum, and they were showing all the different African artifacts. What I loved was that the colonizer, who was giving all the history of all the different African cultures that were there. I don't know if it was really real, but I thought it was pretty cool to see all the different artistic pieces and how they're from different regions, and there's a certain degree of symbolism that comes along with that, you know? And the fact that someone is taking the time to study and put it on display for other people to take in and marvel, right? You know?
Now there's a subtle nuance that was in that scene, because when she started telling him about the quote-unquote staff that was there and where it was from, he already knew where it was from before she did. And she gave, you know, this one little spiel about, you know, it's from this tribe and, you know, these people, but that wasn't true.
It was incorrect.
And that's alluding to how we were taught in our school system.
Yes.
We're being taught the colonizer's narrative,
Right.
not our narrative.
Right.
And that's our fault because we don't know our narrative. We haven't
100%.
taken the time to really research it.
And the books are still changing.
Correct.
They're still changing. Every couple of years, every edition that's rolled out, the information is getting slightly tweaked, slightly
To their
mutated
favor.
to their favor. Each edition that rolls out, so each class is learning something slightly different.
But I mean, we need to take the responsibility to educate our children at home because we already know that. That's nothing new. This is nothing new. People are going to take your artifacts. Matter of fact, let's be honest. They're going to steal your artifacts and they're going to tell the story however they want because they took the power. They stole the artifacts, so now they can say whatever they want about it. If we don't teach our children at home the truth about what it is, and we're only waiting on the European schooling system, the European American schooling system to tell them, then that's our fault. They're not going to teach us anything good. They brought us here to be slaves and we tricked their ass. How come we're not slaves no more? We tricked their ass, we burned down the cane fields, we changed everything. Why don't we change that as well?
So,
take responsibility.
How important do you feel Ulysses' claw role was in the movie?
Can you please tell me who that is?
He's the guy that had the sonic cannon in his arm. He's the one that broke the glass. How important do you see his role? Because to me, he represents, I don't want to say your typical colonizer, but the role capitalism plays on culture.
I think that's a really spot on point. Spot on.
I want to speak on that a little bit. I think you're spot on with that. Primarily because Claude, all right, he goes in, destroys the place, steals her stuff, and destroys, blows, sets off a bomb, and destroys the border on his way out. Now he's looking for more stuff that the vibranium, right? And he's looking for more to sell at his own benefit, at the dismay of the Wakanda culture itself. And at the end, he's telling them about all the resources and all the power that they have that you don't know about, that he needs to go back and get some more. You know what I mean?
He feels entitled.
Exactly.
Now question. How did he find out about it to begin with, and how did he get it to begin with?
The traitor. Killmonger's father.
And so
snitches.
So
get stitches.
I wanted to go dress as Killmonger, but I couldn't find like a really nice leather jacket though.
This fresh.
It was fly.
The dude was fresh.
He was like,
and he's fine too. Like if y'all ever seen Creed, like that's, I mean, whatever.
Did y'all catch that?
Yeah,
I did.
I can't co-sign on that.
Y'all not co-sign. I hope y'all would not co-sign on that.
You know what? I would say though, I found the woman both strong, feminine, and their attractive traits accentuated at the same time also. Like when they were at the river scene and they were like doing that thing, I kind of like that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
It was all doing it.
It's funny though because that's what I'm saying. Like the femininity was very much so distinguished from the masculinity, cause like the chicks, like you're saying, they were doing their thing like that. But the brothers, we were
They was flexing. I think it was flexing too.
Now, what about when M'Baku came in with his tribe? What did that remind you of? To me, it reminded me of the Qs.
Right? They were like
and everything.
Yeah.
But there's always one. There's always one.
And they commanded audience. They commanded your attention.
They did.
Yep.
I thought that was dope. Powerful. Very powerful.
Very powerful.
You know what's so funny though? Like, remember the movie? And you could tell everybody knew it was coming because like when you looked at the waterfall, you saw all these bright colors and everybody's singing, and all of that. And then all of a sudden, you hear that first, "Ooh," and everybody face.
Like, oh, it's that one cousin.
Here they come. And when it was so dope.
Yeah.
Even back to like what you were saying, style-wise, the throne room for the Jabari tribe.
Yes.
No, I'm gonna get the props on that.
The artist who installed that was blowing my mind.
The background, the view,
the mountainous view.
crazy.
Yo,
Yes,
Amazing.
that if I ever have like a cabin over the hills,
Right.
I want to set my living room up just like that.
Right.
It's amazing.
Super clean, ultra modern, and that's what I'm saying. It was done so smart. It was so modern, functional, natural. It was modern
with like natural. Yeah, stuff. Yeah, you know, like the woods, like
Traditional materials
Yeah, it was
used
dope.
in a modern way.
It's dope.
straight line, simple line.
And there was subtle symbology behind it because mostly everything that you saw within Wakanda and the throne room, it was circular, showing unity. But everything when they went to the mountainous tribe, very rigid, straight lines.
Okay.
So
Very
that
traditional. Very
right. It also spoke to their ideals.
Okay.
All the tribes were going to come into unity with each other, but then the mountain tribe, they were very rigid and straight line, very edged off.
That's interesting.
And you even saw it when the colonizer came in. They didn't say anything when he walked into the room, but as soon as he started speaking, they barked at him like, "Yo,
I don't know where you thought you was.
I don't know where you thought you was.
Right.
Let me check you.
you have no voice.
None whatsoever.
Why are you talking?"
Why are you here?
Would you say that's almost as if like the colonizer being entitled?
Of course.
You know?
Of course.
He was entitled because he was welcomed by all the other Wakanda nations. Even though they may have looked at him sideways and they cracked their jokes and a little banter,
Still healed him.
they still healed him. They still gave him the benefit of the doubt because, T'Chaka or T'Challa vouched for him, so to speak.
Yeah, because he saved Lupita's life.
Right.
But did you guys see, like, right before then, you noticed that he didn't respect him? And I say that because when they were in the interrogation area, Killmonger was sitting in a chair. Oh, spoiler packed review here. Sorry if you haven't seen the movie yet. Still give us a like. Still give us a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. But you might just want to hold up and watch it first. But when he was doing the interrogation, and he was talking to him, he kind of sunned him and was like, yeah. And the general looked at him like, what?
Did she start to impale him?
Yes. Rightfully so. But that goes to show he really didn't respect him as a monarch or a ruler at all.
As royalty.
He didn't respect it at all. He took it for granted.
I mean, but that's kind of the way that they set Wakanda up. It's a secret society.
Right.
So how would you all of a sudden know to show respect to the leader of a secret society?
Wait a minute. Hold on.
I know that. Yes, he's a
But
king.
he's CIA. Why can't he do that?
No, respect.
Honor. There's no honor.
Respect is respect. You walk into somebody's home, I don't care if they welcome you and it's their home, you show them respect. Shake their hand, say hello, whatever it is. If you go to somebody else's country, you don't disrespect their traditions. Whether it's a rich country or whether it's a not so rich country, you still have to show them respect.
Right.
And to back up what he's saying is, he didn't show them respect.
Correct.
Just because you don't have a gold crown around your head doesn't mean that you're not worthy of praise. Oh.
Now, technically, during that interrogation, they were in the CIA's territory because they were in their little base in their interrogation room. But there still has to be that respect because you are speaking of royalty.
Right, exactly.
So I totally agree with your point on that. But at the same time, what was her name? Okoye?
Yeah.
T'Challa even told her, like, yo, chill, okay. I'm the king, but we're outside of our nation's borders, so maybe there's got to be a little bit more balance, a little bit of give.
That's why they just bugged him.
Hey,
Because you don't trust him, still.
No, it's okay. I got this.
You can be cordial and respectful, I don't mean I got trust him.
Right, exactly. Well, technically speaking, that's still a sign of respect. I can not like you, but still respect you.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
That's being human.
That's another word.
Yep.
Well,
Or in a family situation.
So
it almost seems like that's where emotions are not involved in the situation. It's easier to be cordial and respectful and do things that you would feel are natural to human beings. But then once you have a relationship that's built, sometimes our own little subtleties get in the way.
So I don't know if you guys been here, right? But there's a big, hard divide. I mean, the divide on this topic is even harder than Star Wars Episode 9, right? How do you guys feel about the post-credit scene where T'Challa was speaking to the UN, because you have some people that were like livid about it, and there were some people that embraced it and they loved it.
I believe when the UN, one of the UN leaders asked, "What do you have to offer us?" You know, with all due respect, what do you have to offer us? Well, you have to keep in mind that is how African nations are looked at on a whole. Correct. We're looked at as poor, insignificant, don't really necessarily have anything to offer. You know, so it might have been ignorant on their part, all right, but they weren't necessarily trying to shun them either. You know, so I'm going to give them just a little bit benefit of the doubt to say, you know what do you have to offer in terms of, okay, we assume you have nothing to offer, but I'm going to leave the door open for whatever communication, whatever it is you want. We want open dialogue. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in that regard.
I felt like there was some low-key shade in the way that he said
take that benefit of the doubt. No. Not giving.
Because he said it with a little smirk,
right?
I'm a third world country, and to take President Trump's recent quotes, you know, asshole countries. That's essentially the demeanor that he was approaching it with. Like, who are you guys? You're a third world country. How can you benefit us? We're the United Nations.
Meanwhile, if you go to the 1884 Belgian conference, when they carved up Africa, they know what Africa has to offer. Don't come at me like that. Sideways. You came at me sideways.
Well, they thought they already stole everything that Africa had to offer.
It's a vast continent. You can never deplete all of the resources of that vast continent, which is the center of the world. If you look at how Pangea was organized, come on, it's ridiculous. That was shade. I agree, 100%. Low key shade, not even low key. That was blatant shade to me. Blatant.
I tried to give the colonizers a chance. I'm sorry.
Well, and to Vision's point, that's why a lot of people were up in arms about that scene, because they're like, no, don't go to the UN. The revolution should not be televised, it should be live, so just go ahead and do it. Put your plan into action and then let them react afterwards. Don't tell them what you're going to do before you actually do that, because that gives them an opportunity to start planning and see, all right, how can we use this to our advantage?
They'll go COINTELPRO you.
Well, you know, with that being said, you know, they could just do it. But don't you think that would bring more fear? If you were to come to an organization which is established, you know, and technically speaking, this established organization, relatively speaking, for the greater good, and you want to be a part of the greater good, you know, instead of undercutting them, coming to them and say, hey, look, I have something that I can offer, and, you know, we can work together, as opposed to just doing your thing on your own. Now, they have the opportunity to take offense to that. Once they see that you have all this power, now you are a threat instead of a potential ally.
But that's how they are. Regardless of the way in which we move, that's how European Americans are. So even, I feel like regardless of the angle that we would have taken, they will take offense to it in some way, shape, or form when they're entirely ready. That's because they have the power here. This is their nation. They run the capitalism. Everything is in their favor. That's just how they are. So for me, I don't think that you need to go and prove anything to the UN. You should just go ahead and put your boots on the ground and go. Because when you're doing what they're not ready for you to do, they will put a stop to it. How much further would you have gotten if you didn't announce yourself?